All right, I want to welcome everybody to today's January 11th Delaware County Redevelopment Commission. The time is approximately 9 a.m. And would everyone please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm going to call alphabetically. Paul Batters. Here. Bryce Conyers. Here. Amber Green.
Here.
Rob Kiesling.
Here.
Angie Moyer.
Here.
No, John Adams is absent. Thank you. We'll open the floor for nominations for President, Vice President, and Secretary.
I would like to nominate the slate for Bryce Conyers, President, Rob Kiesling, Vice President, Angie Moyer, Secretary.
We have a nomination for the slate of Conyers, Kiesling, Moyer. Second to that.
I'll second.
Any other nominations for President, Vice President, Secretary? Hearing none, we'll close nominations. Bryce, I want to turn the meeting over to you to confirm the vote on that.
Congratulations, Bryce.
Thanks. Why don't we do it, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All in favor say aye. Okay, all opposed, same sign. Okay, very good. Motion carried. You're in charge, Bryce.
All right, so we'll move to number 4, approval of minutes from 12/14 and 23.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we'll move on to number 5, resolution 2024-01 Cowan Sidewalk Project.
I will be Danielle, okay?
Yeah.
She's a lot better looking than I am, but anyway. This is for funding for some sidewalks in downtown Cowan. It comes from the industrial center tip because this affects the industrial center tip since it goes into Monroe Township. There have been several people from Cowan that have reached out, and you'll see the next resolution also deals with incorporating Cowan also. But they've requested some assistance in doing some sidewalks in downtown Cowan. Having grown up in Cowan, sidewalks have been needed for a long time down there, so it's very much appreciated, I'm sure, by the people. And it goes to the elementary school. I think the sidewalks help people walk to school, so.
That's the goal.
There was an affirmative vote at the December meeting to approve this resolution and the next two as well, so.
I'll move to approve resolution 2024-01.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll move on to resolution 2024-02 Cowan Incorporation funding.
Yes, there have been a group of citizens that have gotten together to incorporate Cowan back into a town. It was about 120, 130 years ago, and then it stopped, and now it wants to be reincorporated because they have some issues that they need to deal with in Cowan. Sidewalks are one of them. There's some street issues going on out there, and so they want to look at exploring becoming a town. I was contacted, and then I think they're going to set up a not-for-profit corporation to help explore this so they can understand what their tax rates are, what their obligations are, what they're really getting into. And it's just exploration, but they need some funding to get started.
This is really the due diligence phase.
Yes. Yep. You can wish and want to be a town, then realize what it really means to be a town, and then you can decide financially if it's a good idea.
We want to understand the impact of the county general fund until this is complete either.
Correct.
It's something we talked about last month. I'm in favor of the due diligence. That's a motion.
Is that a motion? I got a motion.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll move on to number 7, resolution 2024-03 Gaston Fire Territory.
There have been several meetings between the fire department, the town of Gaston, Harrison Township trustee, and the Washington Township trustee about creating a fire territory. They have some issues up in Gaston with funding for their fire department. The town of Gaston isn't really large enough to adequately fund, and they do address a large area out there in Harrison and Washington Township, and they also provide mutual aid to the townships, not only in Delaware County, but also in Madison County to the west. They're looking at creating a fire territory which will help spread the cost of the fire department among all of the citizens in Harrison and Washington Township, and this is to start their due diligence process. Part of the ordinance or the statutes require that they have, several public hearings, get the input. They also have to do a tax analysis on what it's going to impact to the residents. So this is to get that process started. The fire department is taking the lead on this, by the way.
We talked about last month that I think we're in favor of making a motion again, and I think we continue on the work.
I got a first,
Second.
got a first and second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll move on to the confidentiality information agreement.
Yes, this is an agreement for all the members to sign, to review and sign. From time to time, there's confidential information that's provided on various economic development projects that come before the board. There's information that's shared with all the board members that is confidential, and under the open records law, all the information that you take and receive is what we call deliberative material, stuff that you look at to deliberate, and that's all confidential information. It may be financial records, it may be pricing, it may be all sorts of different things. So this is just an agreement that, so Brad can go out to the prospects and say, hey, we have this prospect we want to talk to about, we want to get to an agreement. And this is to keep all that information confidential so that they can have a free flow of information. Once the agreement is signed, then the agreement itself and whatever incentives are in the agreement is a part of the public record. That is the public record. But under the statutes, all of the stuff leading up to that is confidential. And so that's the intent of this, is to keep it all confidential.
As some of you know, I will call you from time to time and brief you on a project, and when I start the call, I will start with, this is the confidential information that I'm sharing with you today. So
A lot of times you're under an NDA
that is correct.
and are limited even what you can share with this.
Yeah, but the body needs to be aware of, as things are progressing, you need to have some background, not be surprised when you walk into a meeting.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Will you have these agreements for us to sign after the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You don't
We'll
need to
give it
get
to
a
you.
motion or anything on this?
What I would like for you to do is to, it's all you all have to, make your own decision on this. And so Brad will get it to you, and then sign it and get it back to Brad, okay?
Okay.
Because it's an individual agreement with each of you.
Okay.
It doesn't abrogate the open records law at all. It doesn't create confidentiality of records that are public records. It's just to confirm that what the information you get is deliberative material that is confidential in the open records law.
Understand.
Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to the Brownfield Community Outreach Proposal for the Industrial Center. Luke?
Yes. So my name is Luke Johnson. I'm with Mundell and Associates. I'm here with Rachel Walker, principal geologist. Thanks for inviting us here to share with you. Just to give you a little, very brief background of what we've done, what we're proposing, and where we're at. So if you have any questions after, feel free to ask. It'll be brief. So kind of what we've done, it kind of all started with concerns of citizens in the area, and so it was the county's response to those concerns to address those. And so we looked, starting a few years ago, looking at the industrial center, and we were focused on, is there any unknown or any areas around the industrial center affecting the community, any environmental contamination that could be of concern. So we looked at all the history in the area, we developed sampling plans, like if there's going to be contamination affecting the community, this is where to sample, this is where to look. We followed up with sampling, addressing 6 of those 10 plans in 2021, 2022. And And then based on those findings, we recommended some additional sampling just to confirm some of the, what we found, and that occurred this past year. And so basically the upshot of everything is kind of where we're at now. And I'll highlight two things. The first is what we're recommending, or our proposal here, based on those findings, is community outreach. So two of the findings we found they're both issues that are not unique to Muncie. The first being lead levels in superficial soils, right? It's common near major roadways due to lead and gasoline over the decades, or in cities which have historically had industries. You might have some of these industries over decades. If they have any heavy metals, they kind of deposit and settle on the soil. So it's common in urban cities to have elevated levels of lead compared to like background, what you might find there naturally. So that's kind of what some of our findings found, that there were some of those elevated levels compared to background, but we didn't find any evidence of a widespread lead contamination above screening levels. There was elevated, as you go closer to the city center, which is kind of what you might expect in an urban city. Anyways, there was no signs of widespread contamination. And then the other thing we found, the second thing, was regarding private wells. And this is kind of a growing awareness in the scientific literature in the past 10 years or so, that it's with private wells, it's often because they're not regulated, they're on their own, and due to the natural corrosivity of groundwater, and you might have lead in the plumbing systems in the private well, and so there's an increased risk of lead in the private residence just from those private wells, from the corrosion of the groundwater. And we saw that was the case in some of these wells that we tested. So we saw this as a good opportunity to increase the awareness of these issues in the community. Again, they're not unique to Muncie, but it was a good opportunity kind of at the closure of these investigations to get out there. And so what we're proposing, because again, we sampled at 43 properties, and the questions, we provided the residents with results and some resources for them, but they were still asking like, what can we do? Where's the final report? Questions like that. So we're proposing to create, I don't know if you're familiar with ArcGIS story maps. It's got a new interactive website, and we're proposing to create two brief story maps. One about this, the lead in the surface soil, what you can do, provide a brief summary, provide them with resources where they can go to, things that they can do, empower them with information. And then the second story map to kind of talk about if you have private wells, things you can do with your system to test, how you can help that situation. Again, brief summary, provide them with resources. So that's, and then also just reach out one more time to the people where we sampled, because and just to provide them with a final, like, hey, this is where you can find the report. This is where you can find the story maps for additional resources. Because there was always they were like, hey, where's the final report, that kind of thing. So that's what this proposal is. And then also just to kind of update you on kind of ongoing activities, kind of what we pointed out in our report too, on our reports. We were looking around the industrial center. There's still a lot of industrial activity in the center. So we said, hey, it'd be a good idea to keep an eye on that area. There's even ongoing remediation in the area. So just to keep an eye on the industries, make sure things are, being followed up with appropriately. If there's incoming industries, I've had the opportunity to, review some of their permits, review their activities, and what the purposes of all of that is just to kind of, one, we've had the opportunity to review their permits, provide feedback. We make comments in the public when it's time for public comments, and that's just to increase transparency, increase the clarity in the permits, increase the accuracy, and just be more conservative in that sense. And ultimately, it's leading to making sure that when these companies are coming in, they're doing things the right way, and we can report back to the county like, hey, these are the good things they're doing, these are the things you should be aware of, and ultimately leads to increased trust in the community. And we really see it as an innovative model here that other counties can look at and say, this is how to promote development, but in an environmentally responsible manner. So anyways, that's all. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But thank you.
Total cost of ongoing work is $9,870 for Mundell to continue the work that they're doing. It is my recommendation, as you know, homeowners' wells have been sampled, and there does need to be follow-up with that. So it's my recommendation as you proceed to advance the project.
I think it's a great idea. I will move to approve the agreement. Second.
The first and second.
I have one question before we vote, if we could. So it's primarily due to air type legacy of lead. I notice it includes wells, but it's not getting into lead service lines from water main, correct?
No, this was dealing with private well owners.
Just private well.
So we wanted to keep that separate. It's like private, and particularly because I know that there's government funding from state to federal level to deal with the municipal side. So it's like the private side, I think there's a lack of awareness from private well, owners that this can be a problem with their own plumbing. It's completely separate from municipal systems.
I just wanted to understand my point of demarcation there.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I appreciate that.
Just private wells. And these story maps we set up such that you could use them. It's not just meant to be sent to specifically the people that we sample. It can be used in multiple promotional things. It's like, hey, learn about lead in private wells, learn about lead in your surface soil, how you can get tested, and what you can do about it. So the idea is to set up that general educational resource to people keep asking you, what about this? It's like, oh, hey, have you seen that? So it'll be available.
Certainly helps as we think about our industrial attraction and some community concerns. That's my only question. Sorry,
Okay.
Bryce.
No, any other questions? I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next we have the Lockmuir Group agreement for services.
Yeah, I'll start out, then I'm going to turn this over to Phil. Included in your packet of what I sent you is the agreement with Lockmuir Group regarding the new potential industrial site on South Cowan Road. Those of you who've been on this board previously understand that the county is undertaking the purchase of some land and then the subsequent readying of that property for industrial development. We do have prospects now who are either existing in our community or new prospects. I have letters from both who are intent upon expanding, building, doing new projects and adding to the tax base in that area. And so we're trying to ready the site. So I'll turn it over to Phil as to what's contained in the agreement.
Good morning, Phil Morgan with Lockmuir Group. Just wanted to say thanks for the opportunity to work with you guys. What our proposal covers is basically the site access to that industrial facility. As I'm sure those of you who've been around are aware, it's two lots on the north and south side of a proposed road. And so our services that we're proposing cover the creation of that road and all the engineering and design behind the traffic on Cowan, and including the road inside of the development. So it basically covers everything that was given to us in the preliminary site plan, covering all of that, the road, the ADA access, the utilities associated with that. So a big chunk of it is the utilities. Obviously, you can't have a road without the utilities that would allow the industrial facility to go in. So that's basically what we cover. If there's any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer anything else. But that's really what our proposal is in front of you today to help out with.
Motion.
Second.
First and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll move down to invoices. Any questions on any of the invoices? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I got a first.
I'll take the second. Michelle can have the first.
Okay, we got a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? And move down to the bot and bond invoices. Any questions on those? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I got a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? And public comment. Any comments?
Well, if no one has any comments, I do. The board would like to present a plaque to Commissioner James King for all his hard work and dedication to the board. We would have had this last month if we known there'd be some changes.
I appreciate it.
It says, in honor of distinguished service and dedication to Delaware County, Indiana, the Delaware County Redevelopment Commission hereby presents this plaque to James King with respect, appreciation, and gratitude on this 11th day of January 11th, 2024. Thank you for your service and happy birthday.
I just want to say it's been a pleasure working with James. I've worked with James for a long time on this board, and I know you know that. Thank you, James, for all
Thank
the
you, James.
cooperation.
Thank you,
Good stuff we've done together, so. May I bring up one other thing? So there has been, since this meeting is videoed, I did want to bring this up. There's been some things on Facebook, and I'm not a Facebook person to troll Facebook for items, but I know there has been some chatter about other solar projects that are apparently slated on some website in the county. This body, this board, myself, has not been noticed by other companies other than what has already been talked about in the newspaper with the two projects that are here. I'm aware the Delaware County Commissioners, neither have been discussed with those companies any projects. I've done some research. I've talked to Rob Kiesling, who is understanding with American Electric Power, and I think there's a website. I believe it's PJM. Is that correct, Rob? PJM.
PJM is the regional transmission organization that kind of governs the grid, for lack of better terms, across the multi-state area.
Right. So companies were allowed to apparently at some point slate projects for different locations on this website. I've searched on that website trying to find a representative from that organization who can come and explain this, and apparently there's not a easy path or a way to find a liaison for our area to discuss that. But I did want to get it. Rob, do you have anything else to put in on this? You and I had some discussion about this.
No, I think in short, Brad, I think that the gist of the conversation was, there's developers can apply to be in the system and they can do their due diligence, and it doesn't mean it just means they're interested in pursuing a project, and it may or may not be viable. It doesn't mean they've gone to the county. It doesn't mean that they're going to build it. It just means they've expressed an interest in getting the initial approval process. It doesn't mean it's come before this body in any way.
Exactly.
And I think that's a lot of what we talked about.
That's what we're trying to clarify. Yeah. So, and I know that stands true as well with the county commissioners. So we have put some due diligence research back into this in the backside to try to find out what exactly is going on, and we have nothing presented to the planning and zoning commissions related to those projects. So just FYI information for public purposes.
Any other comments, questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
First,
Second.
second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.